What is up, my friends? Welcome back to my channel. So something a little bit different today, advice for photographers. Every once in a while I get photographers in my DMs asking for advice about working with models, and so I thought I would share some of that advice here in convenient video form. So this video is all about how to create a comfortable shoot environment so that models will enjoy working with you. This idea comes from my friend Tom, the photographer, so shout out to Tom, thank you for the recommendation. I should note that this is advice for working with freelance models, which is to say models who are not affiliated with an agency. If you're looking for advice about working with agency models, sorry, I've never been with an agency before. However, I do know about freelance modeling because I've been doing that for 6 years now, and oh, how the time has flown. So over the course of the thousands of shoots that I've done, I have learned a lot about what are the best practices for making a good shoot environment that will be good for everyone and will lead to the best quality photographic results. Now, I've made posts about stuff like this before, and there's always some photographer in the comments that's like, "Oh, well, you don't speak for all models." Yes, sir. Do I look like a celestial being composed of the life force of an infinite number of models? No. No, I do not. I am speaking from my own experience. I am not trying to speak for all models. However, models do talk. So I'm not getting this information from nowhere. I know that this is stuff that a lot of models feel comfortable with, so I feel comfortable sharing this information with you, and I hope it will help you in your photographic endeavors. So the foundation for a really good shoot is laid before the shoot ever starts. This step I feel like can be really easily overlooked, but planning the shoot and communication before you ever enter the studio is so important. I feel like a lot of the disagreements that I've seen between models and photographers and a lot of the friction comes from improper communication leading to mismatched expectations at the shoot itself. So first of all, before you ever even reach out to the model you're interested in working with, make sure that your online presence really reflects your photographic work and who you are as a photographer. Sometimes people will just reach out to me from their personal accounts that are set to private and be like, "Hey, can I book a shoot with you?" And I'm like, "Who are you, sir?" So if you don't want to show your photography work on your personal social media, maybe because you're worried about it affecting your employment or whatever, that's fine. Just make sure you set up a separate social media account and make sure that it's just for your photography so that when you reach out to models, they can see who you are. The other thing that's good to have some idea of before you reach out to the model is what kind of shoot terms you're open to. Are you looking to pay the model? Are you looking for a trade shoot, which is to say neither party pays each other, but you're both agreeing to shared usage of the photos? I recommend you have a pretty good idea of what you're looking for and communicate that very early on when you reach out to the model. I have so many people reach out to me like, "Hey, do you want to shoot sometime?" And they don't really make it clear if they're looking to hire me or if they're looking for a trade shoot, and so then I feel like I have to draw that information out of them. And honestly, those kinds of people are usually not very serious about working with me, and they just kind of eventually drift away from the conversation altogether. So at this point in my career, when I get a message that's like, "Hey, do you want to shoot sometime?" I prioritize those messages less because I've had so many experiences with those people just not even really knowing what they want out of the shoot. So if you communicate right up front "Hey, I'm interested in booking you for a shoot, what are your rates?" Or "Hey, I really like your work, would you be interested in doing a trade shoot with me sometime?" The model then sees that you're really thinking about what the shoot would look like and is more likely to get back to you. If you're looking to do a trade shoot with a model, don't take it personally if your offer is declined. The more popular and or established a model is, the more offers for trade shoots they're fielding all the time. So most models have very limited openings for trade shoots, and some models don't do trade shoots at all. So don't be offended if the model then quotes you their rates. Sometimes people take it really personally and get a little snippy when you say "No, I don't do trade shoots, but here are my rates." But the thing is, that rejection doesn't necessarily say anything about your photography. It doesn't mean the model doesn't like you or want to work with you. It could be all sorts of things. And if you get mad and feel like you're entitled to work with that person for free, then you're gonna burn that bridge and you're gonna lose any chance you could have had to do a trade shoot or maybe even a paid shoot in the future. And then once you have that initial conversation, you started planning the details of the shoot, make sure you really iron out every single detail. Like, where are you meeting? When are you meeting? What is the model supposed to bring? What kinds of concepts are you doing? Make sure you're really clear on the compensation. Are you sending them pictures afterwards? How long will it take you to process the pictures? How many pictures are you sending? Like, over communicate. You cannot communicate too much at this stage because, again, like, misunderstandings lead to all sorts of tension at the shoot itself and after the shoot. And then once you feel like you have all of your details just overwhelmingly clear to both parties, make sure you're checking in about a day or two before the shoot just to double check that you're still on, that you still have like the same idea about timing. Sometimes models forget, sometimes one or both people have the wrong day on the calendar. All kinds of things can happen. Just checking in will minimize the chances of the shoot falling through. I know that's kind of a lot of detail before you even actually get to the shoot, but I am telling you now, if you take that time to get everything clear in advance, your shoots will go so much more smoothly. Okay, so congratulations. You made it through the planning process and you're actually at the shoot with the model. Step 1, no touchy.
Let's go.
Whoa, no touchy. No touchy. No touch.
It's 2021. I feel like a lot of people are on board with this and understand it, but there are some people who have a hard time with this concept. Respect a model's bodily autonomy and consent. Don't just reach for a model to move them into a position you want. Don't just reach for their hair to rearrange it. Best practice is to not touch the model at all while they're working. However, if there's some situation where you feel like you absolutely must, maybe it's a shibari shoot and the model's hands are tied behind their back, I don't know. You need to ask first. And not just like the first time, you need to ask every time. Like, I have had situations where I had like one strand of hair sticking out and the photographer was like, oh, like, do you mind? Can I fix it? And I'm like, okay, sure. And so they fix it and then they take that yes as like blanket consent to continually try to like pose me or touch my hair or whatever. And it's like, no, like, I consented to that one thing that one time. If you want to make further adjustments, you need to ask each and every single time. There are some models that are just okay with being touched, that don't mind being moved into poses, but they are the exception, not the rule, and you should not assume that a model is okay with that unless they explicitly say, I do not care, you do not need to ask. It may not seem like a big deal, just like touching someone's wrist or moving their fingers a little bit, but models that do a lot of shoots have had to deal with so many photographers just trying to touch them, and like most of us have had at least one creepy experience, and a lot of people just do not like to be touched, especially by people they don't know. So assume that your model doesn't want to be touched and don't. And on the topic of like bodily comfort and autonomy, like, watch out for your model's comfort level and be careful not to push them. That obviously goes for boundaries, like don't try to push them to shoot a type of content they don't do, but also pay attention to, is it an extremely hot day? Is it an extremely cold day? Have you been shooting for a long time without taking a break? Your model will be working really hard and trying to do the best that they can, and they might not speak up if they're starting to feel exhausted or overheated or whatever. So make sure you're keeping that in mind. Like, it's okay for you to suggest to take a break, even if the model hasn't spoken up. It's a good idea to bring a couple of water bottles and a couple of snacks with you, just in case the model gets hungry. Make sure you're bringing sealed water bottles and like pre-packaged snacks. It's just an etiquette thing. Even if it's like a relatively shorter shoot, like just a couple of hours, and you don't expect either of you to get hungry, it's just good to have on hand. Like, one time I was shooting with a photographer and I had a dizzy spell towards the end of the shoot, and he just had like water and snacks, and I really appreciated that because I felt like I was going to pass out. So, you know, these little touches can really go a long way. I also recommend that you take some time at the beginning of the shoot to establish rapport with the model through conversation, asking them some questions about themselves. I noticed that like more introverted people are drawn to be photographers, and sometimes they can be like a little shy when they work with models for the first time, but if you strike up that conversation and get comfortable with each other before you start working together, the shoot will just flow better and the model will look more comfortable in the pictures. Compliments go a long way, but don't get too personal. I think sometimes photographers are not really sure where the boundary is of like being friendly and being inappropriate. I would say like it's really nice for a model to hear like, these pictures are looking great, like your poses are amazing, you're doing such a good job, but it can really feel uncomfortable if you're like, oh my God, you're so beautiful, like wow, like you're amazing, like, you know, it can just be a little over the top and feel a little personal for what ultimately amounts to a work environment. So watch out for that, especially if you don't really like know the model yet. Different models are going to have different comfort levels with this, but I would say err on the side of caution, especially while you're still getting to know each other. Also, if it comes up, respect the model's request to delete photos. Sometimes, you know, like angles are not flattering to the model. Sometimes you might catch something that the model does not want to have photographed. And if that happens and the model says like, please delete this photo, I'm not comfortable with this being shared, for the love of God, respect it. Like, you might really like that photo. Sometimes there's a conflict where the model wants the photo to be deleted and the photographer is like, no, like, I own the rights to these photos and like, I should be able to distribute them how I want to. It's just an asshole move. Like, I think the law is actually on the photographer's side in that situation if the model signs a release because the photographers do own the rights to the photos. But like, either way, like, don't be a dick about it.
Am I wrong?
You're not wrong, Walter. You're just an asshole.
Okay, then.
And remember to relax yourself during the shoot. I think sometimes photographers feel like self-conscious if they're like struggling with something with their camera or if the lighting isn't working for them. And like, don't even worry about it. It is so chill. It is okay to not know. It is okay to be like still learning or figuring things out, or if you have a random equipment malfunction, like the model is chilling. Like, don't feel like you need to be stressing out about it. Like, just enjoy the shoot, even if things don't go like exactly how you planned, which happens all the time. It's a learning experience. Like, at least you still got to like get out there and make some art, and that's what really counts at the end of the day. So yeah, those are my tips for working with models, for having a comfortable, awesome shoot, and I hope they are helpful to you. Let me know in the comments if you have any add-ons to that or any thoughts about what I said. Like this video if it was helpful to you, subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you guys in the next one.
Used to cry alone at night, tears had stained my eyes, but with you it's like I never felt